Kings, Queens, and In-Betweens, welcome back to the City Boys podcast, doing the City Boys Spotlight, where we cover all 30 MLS teams. On this episode, we are going over Nashville SC, and I am Ethan Thornton, joined by two of my best friends in the game. Grayson, how are you tonight?
I'm feeling good. I'm back. If you haven't noticed, so I guess we have changed clothes in between. This is our third City Boys Spotlight of the night. We're going strong. We're powering through, and I'm ready for this one. Nashville, more like Asheville. No, I'm just kidding. They're pretty good.
Aha.
I'm excited to see where 2025 will take them because they're an interesting squad. They definitely underperformed last season. So I think they're definitely going to be back to better winning ways, but we'll see how this episode goes before we start predicting how they're going to do. Jacob, how
Yeah,
you
dude,
doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, just
I gotta close my door. Hold on.
You know what? This episode is just gonna be the two of you guys. I'll head out for this one. No, I'm doing fantastic. Our fourth recording of the evening, third City Boys spotlight. I'm gonna give Nashville all I got, and then I'm gonna lay my head on that soft, silky pillow and go to bed.
Lovely.
here we go, boys, because we're kind of in my region of America. I've actually been
Just
to
a little bit.
Geddes Park, and it's a great place. It's a really good soccer cathedral, very on the modern spectrum of soccer stadiums. But let's talk about Nashville SC a little bit. Let's learn about them. Let's be the most knowledgeable MLS podcasters, gents. Let's do it.
All right. I'll go ahead and kick it off because I'm going to break down the history of Nashville SC. Although their MLS history is relatively new, the club only began in 2018. Nashville's soccer roots go all the way back to 1989 and probably even further. But we're going to start at 1989 because that's when the Nashville Metros began playing in the various lower divisions of U.S. soccer. I go up, check out their logo here. They are actually purple. They're a purple team. Their logos are actually pretty sick. Branding and marketing are very cool. They would play indoors until 1996 when they joined the USL. They would play around a couple different divisions. They would end in Division 4 in 2012, where they would finally disband and then would reform as Nashville FC and join the NPSL in 2013. Yeah, so very interesting sort of history
It's a
there.
rocky road.
Very rocky road, and it would seem to get even rockier. So in 2013, they would join the NPSL, and eventually they would have the desire to move up into the USL as a fan-owned club. But when they started to set this up, they discovered that the ownership rights to the Nashville club had already been awarded to a different ownership group in Nashville. So that club ended up having to sell their name, logo, and colors to this new ownership group, which would become USL's Nashville SC, the Nashville we know today. Very interesting history there.
Feels kind
Kind
of
of,
slimy.
yeah, kind of similar to San Jose, where there's like, you know, thoughts of being moved around, different organizations. It's very, very interesting. But alas, they would eventually become Nashville SC. John Ingram would eventually become the owner amidst their priority owner, I guess, or majority owner. That's the word I'm looking for. Majority
Already.
owner amidst the push to join the MLS, and they were awarded expansion during the 2018 season. So that would be their debut season in the MLS, and they would become characterized as a defensively gritty side, hosting U.S. men's national team defender Walker Zimmerman as the head of their back line, and also their first ever goal scorer. Much similar to
It's pretty
the
cool.
Tim Parker's effect at St. Louis City, if I had to compare him to somebody else here. Notably, in 2021, they only allowed 33 goals in regular season play, which is pretty absurd. Offensively, they've had pretty varying success. They also roster an MLS MVP in Hani Mukhtar, who's been absolutely insane during his MLS career. Nashville have really struggled to advance in postseason, however. They've made four postseason appearances. The other years they just didn't qualify, but they haven't made it past the conference semifinals. They've been knocked out by the LA Galaxy. They've been knocked out by the winning side twice. So definitely have some room to grow in terms of domestic success, but as a regular season side, they've been decently successful. As I had mentioned earlier, this last season was definitely a dip in form from them. We saw them fall down the table a lot further than they're used to. And that also resulted in a couple of their big players not performing up to their original standards. So let's go ahead and cover on the players that they do have on their roster for the 2025 season.
Yeah, this team is built with purpose. There's not a ton of young cats on this team. It's very much a veteran, been there, done that built squad. They've got a lot of mainstays there, like you mentioned. Hani Mukhtar's there still. Walker Zimmerman's there still. I I would categorize what happened this past season as a fluke for them. And they saw it and they went out in the transfer market and they picked up Gaston Brugman, current MLS Cup champion from LA Galaxy, as well as having solid players in the lineup like Tyler Boyd, who's had a pretty good career in the MLS, all things considered, and MLS veteran Teal Bunbury up top as well. They've got a cat, Sam Surridge, who's likely to have another double-digit goal season this year with Hani Mukhtar in the midfield pulling the strings. I think their biggest acquisition in the offseason actually takes place in the head coaching position. They signed former U.S. men's national team assistant coach BJ Callahan, and he's inheriting a really, really good roster. I was looking at their season last year, and they lost every single game in July, and then they lost two in August out of three. They would then end their losing streak against Atlanta in September, and then they lost three of their last four to end the season. So they really just crashed and burned once summer hit. It really all went downhill. I would not be surprised if they're a lot stronger this coming season and definitely a threat. But yeah, with that being said, Ethan, what are the predictions for Nashville next season?
Oh, gentlemen. Well, there has been a big boost of morale, I would say, to their roster. They did add the foot Mozart,
Alex Mule is a foot Mozart.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
fire.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I gotta go.
who was already on the team, but it was deemed that by our good old Timothy Chalamet, Alex Mule, the foot Mozart, is
Foot
with the
Mozart,
squad
yeah.
and ready to play his tune for the 2025 season. In 2024, they finished 13th in the West. You mentioned, Grayson, that they were underperforming last season, and that is a strong underperformance. 9 wins, 9 draws, and 16 losses. We are a long time removed from the 2021s of only conceding 31 goals, did you say?
33 goals in 2021. Yeah.
Last season, they conceded 54 goals and only scored 38. It is a rough season in Nashville by all metrics, underperforming. So when we look ahead to 2025 and we consider the Eastern Conference and where they might end up in the playoffs, what are we thinking, gentlemen? Are they contending for the MLS Cup? Sorry, let me not laugh. Are they making the playoffs? Are they a bubble team, or are they out of the playoffs? What are we saying?
Hmm.
Um, this one is definitely gonna upset one of our biggest fans of the podcast with my prediction. I think they're gonna be better this year. They have a strong core, like I'd mentioned, but they really haven't done anything that wowed me in the offseason as far as to like really take them to the helm. So I'd say at best, they're a bottom tier playoff team, but more than likely they're a bubble team.
Yeah, I am going to have to slightly agree. I think that Nashville is going to be a bubble team that I think they are going to make the playoffs eventually. I think it's going to be close, but I think they are going to make the playoffs. I think they will definitely improve on last season's tally. What I'm seeing with Nashville really is their game plan just kind of getting stale. They obviously have the same spine that they started with in 2018. I think that BJ Callahan is exactly what they need to bring in some fresh ideas, get a new face at the helm of the club, get players performing again. I think next season we're going to be see a big change in specifically Hani Mukhtar's play. I think he's going to be back to MLS MVP competition. Um, I think the team will definitely improve. I think they will make the playoffs.
Okay, gents, I like the predictions. I like them. I think they're both pretty fair. I'm going to go for a bubble team as well, just because the East feels so competitive, and I I potentially could see an underperforming team get in. Jacob, you alluded to this as well. BJ Callahan was really good for the underperforming US men's national team, so I don't see why he couldn't have a very similar impact in Nashville. Let's move on to our next crossbar shot, the total wins. Last season, I mentioned they had 9 wins. So I'm going to set the crossbar at 10 total wins.
Mm.
Are they smashing the crossbar? Are they getting over? Grayson, what do you think?
I'm definitely gonna take. I think they're gonna sky it. I think we're going over 10 wins this season. I think it'll be pretty close. I'm thinking 12, 13. But yeah, definitely a slight improvement. Not gonna carry them too far. I do think it's gonna be a very competitive conference. I do see improvement to be made.
I don't totally disagree with you, Grayson. I think 10 wins for this roster isn't a crazy expectation to have. Um, I think once that number ends with team, it does start to get a little crazy, especially if they don't make any splashy signings after this video comes out. I'm I'm gonna take the over, but like nick the crossbar
Mm.
over.
Ooh, they're just squeaking above 10 wins, maybe an 11. Guys, I am really not sure because if they're going to be a bubble team, then I think 10 wins is kind of, I don't want to say the minimum, but I think 10 wins is going to be the requirement to get them into the playoffs and competing for that area. So I'm actually going to hit the crossbar. I don't know that I've just nailed the crossbar yet. So I'm going to hit 10 on the money. We'll see if Hani Mukhtar can start finding the back of the net and not the crossbar like I just did, then I think Nashville will be in pretty good shape. Moving on to the next crossbar, 40 total goals. Are they going to go over? Or are they going to go under for next season? Jacob, do you think that they can find their goal scoring form?
I'm gonna go with the over again. I think with the likes of Jacob Schaffelberg and Hani Mukhtar, as well as Sam Surridge, the three of them could combine for 40 goal contributions alone. So yeah, I'm gonna take the over. I think what's gonna keep them hopefully humble, which feels like it's lacking in the Nashville fan base, is the fact that they are gonna they are going to allow a lot of goals over.
I think I'm going to take the over as well. I think a slightly underrated signing is Mark Delgado from the LA Galaxy.
Yeah.
He'll bring another it's another player who can keep the tempo of the game moving. He can spray passes, he can find a man on a run. He's going to be a very important player for Nashville, although he doesn't bring many goal contributions. He brings a lot of the things you need from a midfielder that you don't see on paper, on statistics. Very, very, very creative player who's, I think, is going to change how their midfield looks. So I think that'll definitely help kind of free everyone else up to start scoring again.
I'm gonna take a slightly different approach to this problem, but I'm gonna sky the ball over the crossbar. I think that they will score their 40 goals. But the way that I'm looking at it right now is that Nashville won 9 games last season and they scored 38 goals. So they take a draw from that column and move it over to the win. They add a couple goals. They've hit their 40 mark. I'm gonna take the over and go for over 40 total goals on Nashville SC. Now, our second to last prediction for Nashville SC is our player of the season. They do have a few consistent players, a few notable names on their roster. Of course, Hani Mukhtar was at the MVP level at one point. Walker Zimmerman is maybe not a mainstay in the U.S. men's national team, but has been a feature certainly. So Nashville's player of the season. I'm gonna kick us off, and I'm gonna pick Jacob Schaffelberg, the Canadian winger. He is very electric on the ball, very very good. I think he will score a lot of goals. He was sort of a sought after name for Nashville in the transfer market, so we'll see how that goes next season. But yeah, I think that he is impactful and electric enough to be their player of the season over Hani Mukhtar.
I'm going to go a different route, and I'm going to take the pick artist himself, Sam Surridge, to be their player of the season. In a down year for the club, he had double-digit goals. We're all looking for them to have an up season this year. How far up the season is for them, I think it's a lot of the success is going to ride on how many goals Sam Surridge can bag, and goals equal player of the season awards. So I'm going to go with Sam Surridge. Who do you have, Grayson?
I feel like I'm just gonna take the easy one here. I think the MVP for Nashville is going to end up being Hani Mukhtar again. Last season had 9 goals and 9 assists in the league. This year, I think he will get back to double digits again. You know, the
It's
season
reasonable.
before last, he had 17 goals, and then the season before that was his MVP season where he registered 26 goals. Not even counting his assists here. That output is absurd, especially in the MLS. And I think he will get back to double digits. I don't think he will necessarily scrape those numbers that he was putting up back then. I'm gonna say about 15 goals, but I do think that will be enough to earn him MVP honors, player of the season honors for Nashville for 2025.
All right, gents. All right, their player of the season. So to wrap up our predictions on Nashville SC, let's talk about if Jacob Schaffelberg will be around for the whole season because he seems to be a prime European. What's the word I'm looking
Target.
for here? Thank you,
Target.
Jacob.
Prospect?
A prime European prospect. The likes of Jonathan David and Tajon Buchanan, other Canadian men's national team players, are doing pretty well over in Europe. So there could very well be a spot for Schaffelberg over there. Do we think he will stay in the MLS for this whole season?
It's tough, right? It's tough. It's tough because I think Schaffelberg's going to have a good season, like you're saying. And if you're the club and you're looking at potentially a playoff run and Schaffelberg's having a good season, do you want to lose that caliber of a player before your playoff run? No, not really. But if his price tag is multiple millions of dollars, do you take it and then look to reinvest in the squad either in that transfer window or the next one. It's a tough spot to be in. I'm going to say no. I don't think he is playing in Nashville for the entirety of the 2025 MLS season. And that's strictly due to the fact that the kid's young, the kid's rapid, he's really good, and he fits a lot of systems overseas. And for a price tag, that's pretty small, all things considered. What do you have, Grayson?
I do rate Schaffelberg. I know the MLS pundits were definitely singing his praises all of last season. I'd have to agree. I do think he is a super hot prospect. I think he will most likely sign for a team in Italy. I feel like he would do really well in Italy for a lower level side. I'm thinking maybe Parma. But alas, I do think he does stay at Nashville during this entire next season. And then the summer, or not the summer, I guess the transfer window shortly after the 2025 season is where Nashville will lose him. But I do think he will have a good season that will help get him on clubs' radars, and we'll get him out of the States here pretty soon. But I do think one more year.
I will say on Transfermarkt, his value sits at 5 million. That is a good value buy on a wing player if you're a Dutch or Italian club, I think. But that wraps it up for my predictions for Nashville next season, boys. I think they will do much better than they did this season, but it puts a smile on my face to see them, a villain of the league, doing a little worse.
I will say I am very excited to see the matchup between Nashville and Chicago. Hopefully we'll get to see that BJ Callahan versus Greg. I think that would be a super fun matchup. Get the former U.S. men's national team head coach versus his replacement after he got fired.
And then the replacement's replacement.
And then the replacement's replacement. So we'll see. This should be a very fun season for the MLS. There's lots of storylines. So I have no doubt that this MLS 2025 season is going to be insane. I'm so ready for it.
Yes, and if you want to continue to get ready for it with the St. Louis City Boys, make sure you are liking, subscribing, and following on all social medias. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. If you are listening on Spotify, follow. And most importantly, folks, around here, we like to remind you, do not forget to tell your mother you love her. Peace. MLS. Nashville sucks. MLS. MLS.